I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Thank you, Courtney. Would you come back up to the podium, please? We have some questions for you. So you attend Spook Hill Elementary. What's your favorite subject there?
My favorite subject is science.
Science, very nice. And just all sciences, or do you have any one that you like in particular?
I like all science.
All science, very good. And what do you want to do when you grow up?
I want to be a veterinarian.
A veterinarian, very good. Do you have any pets at home?
Yes.
Of course you do. What do you have?
I have a gecko and a dog.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for leading us this afternoon. Do you have someone here from your school with you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Would you like to introduce them, please?
Mm-hmm. The person I have with me today is Miss Timmons.
And do you have any family members here?
Yes, my mom.
Okay. Would you stand, please? Well, Courtney, again, thank you so much. You did a wonderful job. We appreciate you coming out and leading us in our pledge this evening. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very nice job. The school board meeting of May 14th, 2019 for Polk County is called to order. Madam Superintendent, do we have any revisions to the agenda?
Item C11, minutes of the April 9, 2019 work session, remove item. Item C12, minutes of the April 23, 2019 work session, add backup. Item C16, bid recommendations, revised backup. Item R62, recommendation of non-instructional personnel actions, revised backup. Item R66, request to schedule a public hearing for June 18, 2019. This concludes our revisions for this evening.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. So at this time, I would entertain a motion to accept the May 14, 2019 school board meeting agenda as revised.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Fields?
Mr. Wilson, I'm not really sure exactly where this would need to be considered, but I would like to add the motion to renew the BridgePrep academies, the recommendation by the superintendent for the BridgePrep academies charter school application.
Thank you, Ms. Fields. I think we would need to approve the agenda first, and then you're most welcome to make that motion immediately after that.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a motion on the floor to accept the school board meeting agenda as revised. We have a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Fields?
I would like to make a motion to renew the superintendent's recommendation for the BridgePrep academies charter school application.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Townsend?
There's been a lot of public discussion about this. This was not on the agenda for tonight. I think it's only fair that the public get a chance to address this renewed vote?
Renewal, yes, sir.
Renewed vote. I would ask that we postpone this vote and discussion until the next regularly scheduled meeting. I think a lot of us have gotten correspondence, and I think it would be pretty disrespectful to the public to have this vote tonight with it not being on the agenda, no one having a chance to come.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. So Mr. Townsend's motion is to table the motion for the renewal vote. Mr. Bridges.
Mr. Chair, a motion to lay on the table requires a second and is not debatable.
Okay. So we have a motion. Do we have a second? So do we have a second? Ms. Fortney?
I second. Yeah.
Okay, so we do have a second. There is no discussion on this matter. So at this time, we'll vote on this matter. We'll do a roll call vote. All in favor of Mr. Townsend's motion, please say aye or yes as we go through the roll call. All opposed, please say no. Mr. Townsend?
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Cunningham?
Nay.
Mr. Wilson votes nay. Ms. Reynolds?
Nay.
Ms. Fields?
Nay.
Ms. Miller?
I vote yay.
Motion fails. So the motion on the floor then is renewal of the superintendent's recommendation to approve the BridgePrep Academy contract. And we'll have discussion on that matter at this time. Mr. Townsend.
Are we voting to add it to the agenda, or are we voting on the matter itself?
This is a renewal motion.
Has been brought back to the table for action.
So it's a live motion, right?
It is a live motion.
Again, I don't, and you guys may have read about this. BridgePrep is a essentially for-profit charter school that has chosen to make its public face a convicted criminal. He's been lobbying us. His name is Ralph Arza. He was convicted of witness tampering. Ron DeSantis' campaign considered him too racist to be part of his campaign. He was disavowed by the DeSantis campaign, but the BridgePrep folks have chosen him to be their public face. They have, we had a 3-3 vote last meeting. Miss Fields wasn't able to attend, so the school did not pass. Our charter review committee, who we hire a consultant to work with a committee to give us a recommendation as to whether a school should pass, voted 11-1 to recommend against approval. I think we've all received overwhelming response from folks asking us not to approve this school. I originally it's sort of a bilingual school, and I was sort of open to the idea at first, but it became pretty clear as they presented to us that this is really just a real estate venture to them. They really want to go to South Lakeland, but we don't have any need for them at all there. But since they've lost the vote, their behavior, I would not inflict them on the people of Polk County. I have absolutely no reason to believe they will treat their parents or their kids with respect. They are likely to go appeal this decision to Tallahassee and probably win, because Tallahassee's charter review committee system is corrupt and rigged. I think this is really a terrible vote if we do this. It's contrary to what the public wants. It's going to put us in business with some very unsavory people. I'm proud of that vote. I will continue to be proud of that, but I'm going to vote against it tonight. I think it's really cowardly to not postpone this a month and let the public, who's has expressed their views pretty clearly about this, come and speak about it. Trying to sneak this in tonight when nobody's looking is just not how we ought to do business. Those folks lost a vote, and they've behaved abominably since then, and I will be voting no.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Ms. Miller?
First of all, I want to start this out with Lisa Miller decides things on her own, and I want to tell you my experience with BridgePrep Academy. At the beginning, when they submitted application, they wanted us to move it into the second phase in promise of changing information on the application and promise of changing a location on the application. I'm not going to talk about Mr. Arza's character. You can feel free to Google him. He is our legislative liaison. It is his job to convince counties to put these corporate charters into their counties. I can tell you that corporate charters are nothing like local charters. This is not your McKeel. This is not your Berkeley. This is not your Lake Wells District. Corporate charters are ran very differently. This board would have no one from Polk County on it, not one resident from Polk County on its governing board. That is an issue that I have because my job is to look out for the citizens of Polk County. And after my vote no, the threatening letter that I received along with one other board member describing things that were untrue in a very threatening manner because of my vote just cost Mr. Arza and his company another vote because I would not change my mind and put Polk County students and staff in jeopardy of people that operate like this. So I will not be changing my vote to not accept the application from BridgePrep. There is a process. I very much respect the superintendent, and I also respect the committee that was made up of individuals outside of us to determine applications and to review them, and 11-2 voted no. So I will go with that committee's decision, and by the behavior of this school that's operated by sending threatening letters to board members, trying to change their vote and accusing them things that are absolutely not true. I do support charter. I support local charter that has local people from Polk County on the governing board. These schools have a governing board where they share board members across South Florida. They all meet on the same day. So they all can make decisions on the same day about schools located in multiple locations. As someone who's worked in a school and also been on governing boards, I can tell you that's very difficult. There's no way the needs of the individual schools are being met. And with emails that I'm receiving and letters I'm receiving from families in Boca Raton and South Florida, they absolutely agree with this, that it is they have no way of dispute resolution is not made clear to them. It's very difficult to run a charter from South Florida for Polk County. And I know the residents of Polk County and the constituents that voted for me would not be in agreement to it. So I will not be changing my vote, and the vote is no for BridgePrep.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Ms. Fields?
I have a statement that I want to read. The mission of the school district is students first. No matter what may be said negative about the applicant or the charter schools in general, the district's mission is to provide for student academic achievement. The district is facing an overcrowding challenge in East Polk, specifically the Haines City, Davenport area. If there is an opportunity to address a need of the district that will favorably impact student achievement, the district should explore it further. And is my understanding, the superintendent's recommendation was to do just that, and to look at some of the deficiencies that have been mentioned, and to go and to see if those deficiencies can be addressed so that ultimately we can make sure that we provide the necessary seats for the students in East Polk County. When they originally came to us, the location was identified as Lakeland. And after discussion, they agreed to look at East Polk because of the overcrowdedness there. And it's my understanding that if they win the appeal, that they would probably end up locating their school to Lakeland, which is not where we need help. We need help in East Polk County. And so that is why I brought the motion back. I was not able to attend at the last board meeting. I apologize for that. But I feel like we can't take care of East Polk County alone. We need help, and they're willing to help. I've looked at their grades, and their grades, for the most part, are comparable to what we are doing in our school district. So I will be quite naturally supporting this motion.
Thank you, Ms. Fields. Ms. Fortney?
Well, Sarah Fortney got the other letter. And I will tell you that the tone of that, I did not know who Mr. Arza was, and I'm, again, not going to speak to his character, but I did Google him. And after the fact, I also want to make public knowledge that I support Superintendent Byrd. I may not agree with this, but I want everybody to know that not ever out of my mouth has it came that I want her to be dismissed or replaced. And I would respectfully ask who's ever spreading that nonsense about Sarah Fortney, I kind of feel like that about I do the charter school. Please cease and desist. Just because I am not for a charter school that, does anybody know how many kids are going to serve in the Northeast, just off the top of their head? So I rest my case on that. But the bottom line is, we need to be supporting our public schools with people that we trust, our teachers that we trust. These outside entities truly make me nervous. And I am going to say for public record again, I am sure my house was cased after the last board meeting. And I ask my friends from Bartow Police to follow me home this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fortney. Ms. Cunningham?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Couple of things. As the board member for Northeast Polk, I just want to say that when they originally came to us a while back, they were going to locate this new school in the South Lakeland area, which to me absolutely made no sense because the growth and the infrastructure that we need for schools is happening in Northeast Polk. So I was against this charter from the beginning because of its location, number one. Number two, they did not indicate that they were going to put anyone on their board from Polk County. And I simply could not vote for a charter school that doesn't have a board member from Polk County sitting on it to take care of our kids. They came back to us after everything was said and done in work sessions and changed their tune. They basically said, okay, if you think we need a school in Northeast Polk, let us look at that and see if we can find property and do just that. Secondly, they said, we understand how important it is to have a board member from our area, from Polk County, and they assured us that they were going to put one on their board. Thirdly, this vote is not a vote for the charter school. This vote is to allow the charter school and the district superintendent's office to work together to see if, in fact, we can negotiate the term of this contract favorably, because there were issues. There's no reason that it was denied by the Charter Review Committee without reason. Of course, there was reason to do so, but it was explained to us through our superintendent that she felt there might be a chance to be able to negotiate this at the contract stage. So this vote is not a, okay, you're in, you're done, here we are, we have a new charter school in Northeast Polk. The vote today is to simply say we would like to go to the next step with you, which is to evaluate the contract to see if you in fact abide by the things that we have asked you to do, namely location, namely a board member, curriculum, other items that are in the contractual phase. Then after that, it would come to the board for a final vote on the charter school. So I feel, based on what Ms. Field said and how I personally feel, is that I owe it to our students to be able to do that. This is simply another piece of the process, if you will, is to give them a chance and our folks to go to contract to see if we can work this out. So due to that, I will be supporting this vote this evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Cunningham. Ms. Reynolds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to echo a couple of things that Ms. Fields and Ms. Cunningham said. This, as Ms. Cunningham said, is not to bring them to Polk County. It is to go to the contracting process. The superintendent is confident that there's a few things in the contract that were glaring issues that she thinks that we can resolve. If it does not go to the contracting process with us, it will be appealed to Tallahassee. And I don't know if anyone can tell me when we won the last charter school appeal in Tallahassee, but I don't believe it's been at least in the last decade, maybe in my lifetime. So if that's what we're looking at, it very likely will be located in South Lakeland, which is not where we need any other schools. It would not have to have a Polk County board member. It would not have to have all of the things that we've discussed that are glaring issues in the contract. So my vote will be to let it go to the contracting process to see if we can get all of those kinks worked out. If not, it will be coming back to us for a second vote, and we will be able to not approve it at that point. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds.
Yes, it has to come back, yes.
Ms. Miller?
It has to come back.
A point to say I understand the process. We also have protocol and procedure. This is the first time I've seen this, even as a community member, where they've come back like this with this aggressive manner. We do have policies that need to be followed, and putting something in an application and then urging us to move to the next phase and promise of them doing better. I might have bought into that before I got this threatening letter sent to me full of falsehoods, including my character. So I'm a little unsure of moving them into a second phase. I think we have a process, we have a protocol. Sometimes these applications are turned down, and they'll go back and fix them and bring them back for the second round, and then we move them to the next phase and we make it happen. And I was encouraging BridgePrep to do that. Instead of moving to the next phase, they could have obviously withdrawn this application and made the changes. They have no other school that has local representations on their board. So that promise is a little pie in the sky for me to think they would reach that far. So yes, I do understand the process of moving, this would move them to the second phase, but due to this letter mainly and how they've operated, I don't feel it's in the best interest. I want quality schools in Northeast Polk. I want quality education for these students. And once they get a charter, it is very hard to reel it back in. So we need to be very particular of who we approve, and we need to make sure they're meeting all the requirements to make sure our kids are safe and the teachers and staff that are operating in those facilities are doing so in the best interest of children.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Mr. Townsend.
Just a few additional thoughts. Absolutely nothing that's been discussed here tonight is changed by having this vote on June 18th or whenever our next meeting is. You can have everybody can have the exact same position and face the public and own this vote without ducking it. I think the character matters a lot. So I will talk about Ralph Arz's character. He was convicted of witness tampering in 2006, I believe the year was. This has been written about extensively. He got drunk, called up a senior official, called him the M-word. Apparently it's a pretty awful tape. He got thrown out of the legislature. And still, BridgePrep and the Florida Charter School Association has made him their public face. They want him speaking for them. Do you think they're going to give two darns about your kids or your parents or what they think? I mean, look at what they're willing to do to elected officials. You think the education of the kids in the Northeast is going to matter to them? Everything you've heard here is about threat. If we don't do this, they're going to come back and just go to South Lakeland. Let them come to South Lakeland. At some point, you make a moral decision based on whether you're going to be complicit with something or not. There's no way in hell I'm going to be complicit with this, and it is deeply shameful that at the very least we're not given the full public, who has spoken out quite a bit about this, the chance to address this vote, and there's no excuse for it.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Ms. Miller, did you have some additional comments?
No, thank you.
At the work session this afternoon, I mentioned that Mr. Arza had sent a letter to a couple of our board members, and I mentioned that letter was ill-advised, ill-conceived, was terribly unfortunate, and incredibly inappropriate. One of the things he called into question was whether or not those board members were fulfilling their constitutional responsibility to our community and to the state. And as I said then, I'll say again, I find that to be incredibly objectionable. While we may disagree, and sometimes we strenuously disagree, there's no question in my mind that every single member of this board has, in their heart of hearts, the best interest of our community, the best interest of our students, and to suggest that somebody doesn't have the best interest of our community, their constituents, and our students in mind is just, it crosses the line. It's inappropriate. And I'm publicly asking Mr. Arza to issue an apology to those board members. Having said that, I think initially, and again I said this in the work session this afternoon, generally funding for schools, when funding came to school districts, we acquired property, we acquired facilities, and those facilities belong to the taxpayer. They belong to the school board, of course, administered them, but they belong to the taxpayers. When we were finished using those facilities, we sold them and acquired new facilities, or we gave them to other public entities. This is a little different. Now what we're seeing as a result of state legislature or state law is we're seeing those facilities now being acquired by private entities. And I think a lot of people find that incredibly objectionable, and understandably so, but it is nevertheless state law. And so what Bridgeport is asking to do here is not inconsistent with what the state has in mind for charter schools. There are two separate entities. There's the board, and then there's the school, the organization that's going to be running the school. I don't find any evidence that the organization actually running Bridgeport is a bad organization. I think the board, and Mr. Townsend has brought up some issues with the board and some of the representatives, but I don't know that that's necessarily representative of the organization that will be running that school. More importantly, I am 100% certain that upon appeal, this will be approved. This contract will be approved with Bridgeport. And once that happens, our school district will have absolutely no control over what they do with it. They will have full control of the contract. As it stands, we still have the ability, we have some control, we have some influence as to what can be done with that contract. And so from my perspective, it's going to happen. I'm 100% sure it's going to happen, and I would prefer that we have some control over it. And so that's why I will be voting for it. It's just that simple. This matter has come before the public, and we have invited public comment. This is not a new motion. This is a renewal motion. I do agree that if we could provide the schools and the teachers in the northeast part of the county where we desperately need help, that we would do that. We should do that. We simply don't have those resources. So even when we are finished building our new schools and filling those schools with staff, we will still be busting at the seams. We won't be anywhere near meeting the needs of that community. So to the extent that we can get a school out there and help those students, I think it behooves us to do that. So those are the reasons I'll be voting for this. Those are the things I talked about earlier in the meeting. Is there any further discussion? Right, so the motion on the floor is approval of the superintendent's recommendation to move the Bridgeport contract forward, understanding that there will be some negotiation and understanding that ultimately our staff will work with them to ensure that they fulfill their promises to us. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
No.
So we have 3 nays and 4 ayes. Do we need a roll call vote, or do we have that? We good with that? Okay, thank you. Motion carries. At this time, we have special recognitions, Madam Superintendent.
Okay. I would like to ask School Board Member Sarah Fortney to please step to the podium for our special recognition. Board Member Billy Townsend will read the Polk Pride Week proclamation. Christine Laley and Kelly McCoy of Polk Pride, Florida will accept the proclamation.
All right, you ready? Whereas Polk County, Florida is part of a global community in which people of diverse cultures, races, creeds, genders, and sexual identities must work together toward peace and understanding. And whereas the LGBTQ students within Polk County contribute to this vibrant, innovative, culturally inclusive, world-class community and to its diversity. And whereas various advancements have been made with respect to equal rights and protections for all peoples, including the LGBTQ community throughout the state of Florida and United States. And whereas members of the LGBTQ community still face ongoing discrimination based on their innate status, resulting in immeasurable human tragedy, loss of life, community isolation, and abuse. And whereas people of Polk County and the Lakeland Youth Alliance envision a world where diversity is celebrated and all people are respected, valued, and affirmed, inclusive of their sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. Therefore, in concert with Polk Pride Week, the Polk County School Board reaffirms its commitment, support, and inclusion of all students and staff, including those who identify as LGBTQ. Dated this 14th day of May, 2019, by the School Board of Polk County.
Hi, my name is Christine Lally. I am the president of Lakeland Youth Alliance, a peer-based support group for LGBT teens in Polk County. I just want to thank you guys for affirming your support. There's a lot of youth out there who feel sheltered and alone, and this might help them get through today and tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna get a picture.
Thank you. Next, I'd like Supervisor of Elections Lori Edwards to come forward for high school voter registration recognition.
Thank you very much. A pleasure to be here. The Supervisor of Elections Office visited 21 high schools during March and April to offer students the opportunity to register to vote. 994 students took us up on this offer. Today, we're here to offer recognition to the schools that registered the most new voters. Winter Haven High School is the winner this year for the most number of registrants with 105. Government teacher Charlotta Saab and Principal Gina Williams are here to accept what I think is a really cool-looking award. That's beautiful. So thank you so much, both of you, for all that you did to make this a success. We appreciate it. We also today, I think this is just coincidence, but there are a number of members of the Polk County League of Women Voters here in the audience today. And I did want to mention to the board that every single school visit we made, we were supported by 2 or 3 or more members of the League of Women Voters helping out. So I personally want to thank you for that very much. Thank you. Another note, and it just, it's that every vote counts thing. Winter Haven High School had 105 students registered. Haines City High School, 104 students registered. Oh, that's right. Every vote counts. And that's going to put the pressure on, I think, for next year. So Bartow High School is the winner for the highest percentage of eligible students. 13.5% of the eligible students there registered, and government teacher Shelley DeVore and Principal Emilian Clemens are here to accept the award. And of course, thank you to the school board. And not only the school board, but the government teachers, as well as the principals, who really are the ones that made this possible, for their help with this cooperative effort to help us remind your students to make their voice heard. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Lori. Need some pictures? Dr. Hartman, yes. Nobody from Haines City? I don't see anybody from Haines City. Thank you and congratulations. Okay. I would like to ask Doug Harwell, Teacher Resource Specialist, to come forward for the Lake Region High Construction Academy recognition. Good evening.
Business and community partners. Today, I have the privilege to introduce and thank Alice Hunt and the Polk County Builders Association for their years of support and partnership for our schools. About 13 years ago, Ms. Hunt and the Polk County Builders Association approached the Workforce Department about the need for skilled tradesmen for the future and construction industry. Today, we have currently 5 academies, construction academies, with Bartow being our flagship construction academy, Lake Region being one of our new ones. Ms. Hunt and the Polk County Builders Association over the years have been loyal and steadfast in their commitment to the Polk County Public Schools despite downturns in the economy within the construction industry. The Polk County Builders Association, along with Ms. Hunt, have provided students over the years more than $100,000 in scholarships, and we want to thank her for her commitment to our students and our schools. And Ms. Hunt will come up and present Lake Regions.
Thank you, Mr. Harwell. With 6 million jobs available in this country right now, and the majority of them do not require a four-year degree, and the majority of those are in the construction field, we appreciate your willingness to have the conversation to train students for the workforce trades. I know it's a difficult conversation, and I know what we're going to do here would not happen without support from the top. There are 5 teachers in 5 different schools. The construction academies opened up for student signups 1 year ago this month. Jimmy Giles and Bartow High School, excuse me, Thomas Hoy and Fort Meade Middle Senior, Frank Waller and Lake Region High School, Sean Isaac in Tenorock, and Jay Schnorr and Ridge Community Senior High School. We had 2 ribbon cuttings, one at Bartow High School to open the building, and the other at Lake Region High School to kick off the construction academies. While there, the contractors present were impressed. This is the first semester of the first year of construction academies, and the students were hands-on with power tools. Not only that, they were building birdhouses with mitered corners. And if you've done any woodworking, you know a perfect mitered corner is hard to come by. And these students were nailing it. So, the contractors were not the only ones admiring the birdhouses. Superintendent Byrd, too, complimented the work, the cleanliness of the class, the strict discipline with the power tools. And so we have today Mr. Waller from Lake Region High School, instructor extraordinaire, and 2 students, Nick Mays and Jacob Obermiller, to present the superintendent with the birdhouse.
Is this the one I nailed? Oh. And it says the bird house. Oh, thank you. I have to come take a picture with them with the bird house.
You bet.
Sorry, guys.
Absolutely. That is so sweet. It's beautiful. You betcha.
You have to make sure the birdhouse side is showing.
Yeah, really.
They did let me use the tools when I went, so I was making sure this was not the one that I nailed, because it might fall off. Next, I would like to invite Jeanette Crowley, Senior Coordinator of Strategic Partnerships, to come forward for the United Way recognition. This is the neatest thing.
Thank you. United Way of Central Florida fights for the health, education, and financial stability of every individual in Polk County. They invest in teacher training, parent education, and early literacy services that improve vocabulary, literacy skills, and school readiness scores, as well as tutoring, homework assistance, and mentoring service for at-risk students K through 12. United, we all win together. Today, I have the honor of sharing our 2018 district-wide campaign results with you, as well as celebrate our top schools and department who contribute to the highest fundraising results towards the campaign. Polk County Public Schools' 2018 campaign raised over $100,000 for the United Way of Central Florida campaign. This includes pledges, one-time donations, and fundraising dollars, ranking us number 7 out of the top 50 companies and over 500 companies that run campaigns throughout Central Florida. At this time, I'd like to invite Christina Kreiser-Jackson, President and CEO of United Way of Central Florida, to accept the district-wide campaign fundraising check of $41,633.59 and help me recognize our schools and departments.
Thank you, Jeanette. First of all, I wanted to thank the school board for your support as volunteers, advocates, and donors for our community. Thank you, Superintendent Byrd, for your leadership. Thank you, Marissa Green, as one of our United Way of Central Florida board members. Thank you, Jeanette Crowley, for being our employee coordinator. And a special thank you to School Board Member Kay Fields for the leadership you provide at Girls Inc. We are grateful for that partnership. But today is about the many teachers, staff, and faculty that support our community. Thank you for your devotion to give to the communities in which we work and live. Your efforts to give through United Way has Polk County Public Schools ranked as number 7 throughout our Tri-County region. Congratulations. Not only do you support our over 100 funded programs, but we are also proud partners of the initiatives that you provide throughout the school board. Reading Pals are now in 14 schools, and the Community Partnership School is now open at Crystal Lake Elementary. And we invite all of you to the ribbon cutting this Thursday for the Community Health Center. Thank you for improving lives and strengthening the community. At this time, I would like to ask our board chair-elect, Greta Dupuy of Public Supermarkets, to join us for the recognition.
All right, so as I call your school and department, please come forward to receive your certificate and gifts from the United Way of Central Florida. Go ahead, go here. Yeah. And just like we say, every vote counts, every dollar seriously counts, and we have some really competitive schools out there. So in our elementary school category, we have Spessard L. Holland Elementary, who raised a total of $7,231.77. And I'd like you to know that this is $700 more than they raised last year, and the highest campaign amount by any school or department.
Full credit, superintendent and board members, goes to a team of people at my school. Mr. Roszczewski, who started a competitive campaign a few years back, and now 3 aspiring leaders, Casey Willis, who could not be with us tonight, Mr. Louis Rios, and Mr. Craig Hilgenberg, who take full credit for this campaign success this year. So all thanks to them.
Awesome.
Congratulations. Thanks for all your help. Congratulations. Middle school category. Can we please have Kathleen Middle come up for $2,175 for raised in our middle school division?
I gotta say we have a great time doing this each year. This is our 4th year in a row with this. So I gotta once again thank my staff. Our students have a great time. The students every year they vote for the administrator who has to kiss a pig. So that's always a fun time. Luckily it wasn't me this year, so I will smile for that, but thank you.
Our high school category, can we please have Lake Gibson High come forward for a total, and they raised $2,899 for their campaign.
Hi, I'd like to thank you guys, the United Way of Central Florida and the school board for honoring us tonight. I'd also like to thank my wonderful administration, including the best principal in the county, Mr. Ryan Van right here, for letting me do all the crazy things that we need to do to raise the money, and the wonderful faculty we have at Lake Gibson High School as well as our student body. So thanks, it's a great cause.
All right, in our combination school category, we have Fort Meade Middle Senior, who raised a total of $2,230 for this campaign.
I think you have to approach education with eyes of grace. And I think United Way gives purpose to the giving, because I think it keeps our employees in check on what we're doing with our jobs every day. So I appreciate it because it's all about the kids and it's all about Polk County. I'm riding solo tonight because my coordinator is running senior awards right now. So I will be flying out of here soon after Mr. Blankenship's blessed. And then I've got regional playoffs tonight too, so go Miners, but thank you very much.
All right, in our department category, we have support services, who raised a total of $3,206. Can you please come forward?
Well, thank you. I can't take any credit for this whatsoever. This young lady behind me, each year the campaign comes around and I go to Kayla Smith or Kayla Allen and say, Kayla, can you help us out? And she always comes and makes a great campaign. She makes it fun. She makes it worthwhile, and it gets everybody in the spirit of giving. And so we couldn't do it without her, and I just appreciate you very much, Kayla. Thank you.
Congratulations to each of you, and thank you again for all of your hard work you put into the campaign each year. You all are greatly appreciated. I did want to mention that Jess Garcia is my right hand from United Way of Central Florida that helps me during the campaign. So if we could just give her a round of applause, because she works with me every single day during the campaign. Thank you. Thank you all for your support.
Mr. Chair, this concludes our recognitions for this evening.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. So at this time, I would invite anyone who would like to speak to any item on the agenda. So if there's an item on this evening's agenda that you would like to speak to, please come forward and do so at this time. Yes, ma'am, that was on the prior agenda. It was a renewal vote. You're welcome to speak to that item, would you? But I would ask that you wait to the end when we have our general discussions. Do we have anyone who'd like to speak to any item on this current agenda? So we have several minutes to approve this evening. We'll start with the item C8, approval of the minutes of the March 19, 2019 work session. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So the motion on the floor is approval of the March 19, 2019 work session minutes. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item C9, approval of the minutes of the March 19, 2019 school board meeting. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? The motion on the floor is approval of the minutes of the March 19, 2019 school board meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is C10, and this is approval of the minutes of the April 9th, 2019 roundtable meeting. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So the motion on the floor is approval of the minutes of the April 9, 2019 roundtable meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is C12, and this is approval of the minutes of the April 23, 2019 work session. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So the motion on the floor is approval of the minutes of the April 23rd, 2019 work session. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is C13, and this is approval of the minutes of the April 23rd, 2019 school board meeting. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So the motion on the floor is approval of the minutes of the April 23rd, 2019 school board meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is C14, and this is approval of the consent agenda. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda for May 14th, 2019.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So the motion on the floor is approval of the consent agenda for today's meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And Madam Superintendent, we have some new administrators.
Yes, we do. I am pleased to recommend the appointment of Ave Wright Gaynor as the Assistant Principal of Lakeland Highlands Middle. Ms. Wright Gaynor previously served as the Acting Assistant Principal at Lakeland Highlands Middle. She attended Warner Southern University, earning a bachelor's degree in various exceptionalities. She went on to earn her master's degree in educational leadership from Nova Southeastern University. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you. Do I get to say something? It's been a long time coming, and I first like to thank God for designing me to be an educator, because that is who I was designed to be in my mother's womb. I like to thank my parents, Samuel and Bernadette Wright, for always pushing me and motivating me to be the best me that I can be. My husband, Evander's Gaynor, on those late nights and early mornings, it was not a problem. It was always, can I give you a hand, or what can I do? And lastly but not least, my mentor, Miss Talay Kendrick, who saw things in me that I didn't even see in myself. And so I stand before you today humbled and proud to serve in the capacity of Assistant Principal of the Lakeland Highlands Middle School. Thank you. Oh, and Superintendent Byrd, who always gives me motivated and encouraging words. Thank you.
Congratulations to you. Next, I'm pleased to recommend the appointment of Matthew Blankenship as the principal of Stanbar Middle. Mr. Blankenship previously served as the acting principal at Jerry Stanbar Middle. He attended the University of South Florida, earning a bachelor's degree in British and American literature. He went on to earn his master's degree in educational leadership from the University of South Florida. Congratulations and welcome.
Yes, ma'am. First, I want to say thank you to Ms. Byrd and the school board members for your confidence in me in leading the school. I do want to say a special thank you to my mom. She's my biggest supporter, always there when I need someone to talk to and someone just to listen. I am very much grateful for this past year working under the direction of Ms. Collins. Every time I had a concern or a question or just needed to talk something through, she was always there. I am a reflection of the principals I've worked for, Ms. Amy Hardy, Mr. John Hill, and Mr. Ernest Joe. Without those three, I wouldn't know what it meant to truly put students first and be a servant leader. I do want to thank my assistant principals, Leslie Clay, Alicia Wilder, and Holly Melton. They kind of deal with my crazy self as I go through the day. And all the students and staff at Stanball, it's not me, it's about them. They do it every single day, each student every day. I look forward to serving those students in my new capacity, and I look forward to serving the community of Arbondale. Thank you.
Thank you and congratulations. I am pleased to recommend the appointment of Frances Echeverria, Assistant Principal of Lake Marion Creek. Ms. Echeverria previously served as the Acting Assistant Principal at Lake Marion Creek. She attended the University of Albany, earning a bachelor's degree in psychology. She went on to earn a master's degree in educational psychology. In addition, she attended Nova Southeastern University, earning her educational specialist in leadership and her doctorate in organizational leadership. Welcome and congratulations.
Yes, good evening. When the photographer said you had to come up here and speak, I thought he was kidding. But spoken as an introvert, I'd like to thank God for allowing me the opportunity to be a servant leader. I'd like to thank my family, my mom and dad, who could not be here but have been instrumental in my decision to be an educator and above all, a lifelong learner. I'd like to thank Superintendent Byrd and the school board for allowing me to live my dream job, or my dream, every single day when I step on a campus. Thank you for allowing me to make a difference and to allowing me this opportunity.
Thank you and congratulations. Next, I'm pleased to recommend the appointment of Tom Patton as principal of George Jenkins High School. Mr. Patton previously served as the acting principal at George Jenkins High School. He attended Warner Southern College, earning a bachelor's degree in communications. He went on to earn his master's degree in educational leadership from Nova Southeastern University. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you, Superintendent Byrd. I do appreciate the honor and privilege of being the principal at George Jenkins. I do understand the importance of our school within the district. It's hard to believe that 19 years ago an English teacher was prodded by his mother to move to Lakeland to George Jenkins, and here I am now. So both of my parents are educators. They can't be here tonight. My dad, they're both in Lee County. He's at graduations and various events, but I know they're very proud and happy for me, and I'm thankful for them. Like everybody else, there's a lot of people, that I've been lucky enough to be around. And, they've mentioned a few people, and all due respect, I get that. I need a lot. So I have a whole army here with me. I told someone to get here at 4 o'clock. They didn't get here, so they're in the other room. So, but I'm just very lucky. And a few people I would like to point out is definitely my mentor, way more than that, though. My friend, we're not related by blood, but he's definitely family, and that's the previous principal, Buddy Thomas, who came here to support me. I also have the other legend of George Jenkins besides Buddy, Miss Diane Werrick. She just retired recently, lucky her, but she was also a great support for me early in my career. So thank you, Diane, for being here. And then one of our greatest business partners, and lo and behold, became a real good friend of mine over the years, Mr. Mike Curry with Dixie Southern Industrial. He's helped the district in various things throughout time within the district, not just at George Jenkins, but the advice and guidance, good times and bad, he's been there for me. That's something I'll always be thankful for. So thank you, Mike, for being here. And of course, Ms. Dawson, I know you're here. There she is. She's such a wonderful advocate, such a wonderful resource. I'm so thankful that when I have, it's when your leaders answer the phone, that's a good leader. And she always answers. And for that, I'm definitely appreciative. I've learned to say good morning before I start into what I need help with, but she's trained me well. There's a couple others that are here. John Santarpi is another business partner. He's here, and I know that my crew now is starting to come in. This is our new admin team this year. Lacey Emmerling, who's been with me for a while, and Brad Hires, who's recently been an AP. He was here a few months back. And I know I'm taking too long, but, Mr. Hill, Ave, I grew up with you in administration. I was not born and bred in Polk County, but I would like to say that I definitely professionally was born and raised in Polk County through that aspect. So thank you very much, and sorry for taking so much time.
Thank you and congratulations. I'm pleased to recommend the appointment of Ricky Wiggs as Assistant Principal of Department of Juvenile Justice Education. Mr. Wiggs previously served as Acting Assistant Principal at Department of Juvenile Justice. He attended the University of South Florida, earning a bachelor's degree in Business Administration. He went on to earn a master's degree in Educational Leadership from Southeastern University. In addition, he's earned his Master's of Divinity from the Interdenominational Theological Center. Congratulations and welcome.
To Superintendent Byrd and to the school board, I would like to say thank you for this wonderful opportunity. Before I can go any further, I must say that if it had not been for the Lord who was on my side, I don't think I would have made it. Thank my wife. Oh, my son. He came over from Tampa, from school. And my daughter. To all of the principals who I've had the wonderful opportunity to work and to glean from, to learn how to be an administrator, who have taught me valuable lessons. Oftentimes, we think that our journey is set the way we want it to, but oftentimes God puts a detour in the road to get us to the right place. And I am honored to say that I am serving in the best job I think that there is in Polk County School, and that is serving in DJJ. I was thinking about this moment, and I thought about, really, it's not cliche, but if it had not been for the Lord, I would be one of those same students who I'm serving today. And to think that I grew up in Polk County, came out of Lake Gibson, only to have a teacher to tell me that I shouldn't go to a four-year university. I believe in those children, although they make mistakes, although they may do things that are not popular. I believe in the education of all of our students. So I'm honored and grateful that you all are allowing me the opportunity to work and serve those students who go through the criminal justice system. Again, thank you so very much. And again, if it had not been for the Lord, thank you.
Congratulations. Last but not least, I'm pleased to recommend the appointment of Andrew Wilcox Austin as the Assistant Principal of Bartow Senior. Ms. Wilcox Austin previously served as the Acting Assistant Principal of Bartow Senior. She attended the University of South Florida, earning a bachelor's degree in Special Education Behavior Disorders. She went on to earn her master's degree in Educational Leadership from Nova Southeastern University. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you, Superintendent Byrd, and thank you to the School Board of Polk County for this wonderful, wonderful blessing. Thank God. I'm like Ricky Wiggs, if it wasn't for God, where would I be? This is only God making this, allowing this to happen to me on this day, at this time in my life. And I thank him, and I thank you all again for the opportunity. I would also like to thank my principals at Bartow, Summerlin, and IB, Emmeline Clemens, Dr. Hartman, as well as Dr. Downing. Now, I thank them for their encouraging word and just encouraging me. And I also would like to thank Ms. Dawson for encouraging me, for speaking into me, as well as my principals. This is a great opportunity to continue to put students first, continue to see the need and to meet the need, to continue to meet the challenges that we're faced every day in and out of school with students. Again, I thank you for this opportunity, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you all and congratulations. We'd like to get a group photo, please, if you all can come up for a group photo. Thank you. Congratulations again, Mr. Chairman. This completes our new administrators for this evening.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent, and congratulations to our new administrators. And we thank you for your service to our school district. And this, this might be a good time to leave if you. If you would like to do so. I think that went without saying.
Yeah, I think it did. They're so used to picking up and going, but it's a logical time for them. Yep. Once the doors close, we'll be ready to rock and roll.
Yep. Could you get her attention? I'll bring you up first. I'll make you number one when we go. Okay. As soon as we're here, I'll make you. You come up first.
But not now.
No, not now.
Not now. She thinks.
When we have public comments, I'll bring
You'll
you
be
up
first.
Oh, no, we'll bring you up.
But she's saying he'll put you first. He'll put you first. Yeah. Because they leave after, because they're supporting the administrators that got appointed.
She's so
What?
cute.
Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah.
We get somebody to shut that back door.
Okay, we'd like to get started again, please.
The door.
The next item on the agenda is item R50. Could we close the back door, please? Thank you. The next item on the agenda is item R50, and this is approval of the appointment of Cynthia Wimberly to the Sales Tax Oversight Committee. I'll ask Ms. Cunningham to offer some comments and then to make the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to tell you a little bit about our appointee, our nominee tonight. Cynthia Wimberly retired from the Polk County School Board March 31st of this year after 32 years working in school nutrition. She worked at Dundee Elementary, Bethune Elementary and Academy, Sandhill Elementary, Lake Marion Creek, and then went back to Sandhill to finish her career. Ms. Wimberly is vested in the well-being of the schools in the area. Ms. Wimberly comes from an Air Force family, and she has traveled the world, but comes from one of the oldest families in Dundee. She graduated from Haines City High School, and her daughters are Haines City High School graduates, and she has many friends and family in the Northeast area. And I'm proud to tell you that Ms. Wimberly was also named our 2019 School-Related Employee of the Year. Thus, yes, right? Thus, it is my honor and pleasure this evening to nominate Cynthia Wimberly to the Polk County Sales Tax Committee. And I would like to make a motion to approve Ms. Wimberly.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So the motion on the floor is approval of the appointment of Cynthia Wimberly to the Sales Tax Oversight Committee. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is item R51, and this is approval of Resolution 2018-2019-15, waiving the bidding process for the purchase of fuel in the event of a hurricane or tropical storm in our geographical vicinity. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So the motion on the floor is approval of Resolution 2018-2019-15, waiving the bidding process for the purchase of fuel in the event of a hurricane/tropical storm in our geographical vicinity. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item on our agenda is item R52, and this is authorizing the superintendent to approve contracts, bid awards, and other financial documents as needed between school board meetings with ratification to occur at the next school board meeting. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So the motion on the floor is to authorize the superintendent to approve contracts, bid awards, and other financial documents as needed between school board meetings in the case of emergencies. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is R53, and this is approval of Resolution 2018-2019-16 related to Florida sales tax revenue bonds. We had a rather lengthy discussion at a prior work session. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Townsend?
Just for the benefit of the crowd, particularly folks in Bartow, what's really at stake here is whether we're able to do the Bartow High renovation that's been on the books for a long, long time. We're going to be able to accelerate that. We're going to bond a little bit more money than we had intended to, but we'll still have $27 to $28 million a year at least to do maintenance projects and other projects as we go. But doing this bond will allow us to add the Bartow High master plan to the overall plan, and they, I think, were essentially last in line from the original sales tax. We owed them an upgrade, and so that's really what this is about.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Ms. Fortney?
Yeah, that would be the 50 million, not 200 million, would be Bartow High School. I just want to clarify.
Right, we're adding that to it. Sorry.
Right.
Thank you, Ms. Fortney. Thanks for the clarification.
Fair. Okay.
So the motion on the floor, we have a second. We have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2018-2019-16, the Florida Sales Tax Revenue Bonds. What's a pleasure of the board? All in favor, please. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The 200 million got my attention. The next item is R54, and this is confirmation approval of Amendment Number 1 to Rada Construction's contract for a guaranteed maximum price of $970,722 per their proposal dated April 2nd, 2019. And what's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So the motion on the floor is confirmation approval of Amendment Number 1 to Rada Construction's contract for a guaranteed maximum price of $970,720 per their proposal dated April 12, 2019. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is R55, and this is approval of the pre-construction services fee of $25,000 for the Davenport Elementary campus renovation. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So the motion on the floor is approval of the pre-construction services fee of $25,000 for the Davenport Elementary campus renovation. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is R56, and this is approval of the pre-construction services fee of $50,000 for the Mulberry Senior campus renovation and to approve the superintendent and facility staff to move forward upon review with Rada Construction's guaranteed maximum price proposal for this project. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, so the motion on the floor is to approve the pre-construction services fee of $50,000 for the Mulberry Senior campus renovation and to approve the superintendent and facility staff to move forward upon review with Rada Construction's guaranteed maximum price proposal for this project. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is R57, and this is approval resolution 2018-2019-13 for the creation of a sales tax oversight committee. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Townsend?
To clarify that a sales tax committee already exists, but this is tied to the renewal of the, we have to go through the formality of doing one, correct? That's
Yes, absolutely.
okay. Just want to confirm.
Yes, sir. This authorizes the renewal of the sales tax oversight committee.
Yep.
Any further discussion? So the motion on the floor is approval of resolution 2018-2019-13 for the creation of a sales tax oversight committee. And again, as Mr. Townsend said, this authorizes the continuation of the half-cent sales tax committee. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is R58, and this is approval of the lease extension with the City of Lakeland at Mount Tabor Road. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So the motion on the floor is approval of the lease agreement with, the lease extension with the City of Lakeland at Mount Tabor Road. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is R59, and this is approval of the lease agreement with New Beginnings Charter School. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So the motion on the floor is approval of the lease agreement with the New Beginnings Charter School. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is R60, and this is approval of lease extension with C&B Farms at Bailey Road. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So the motion on the floor is approval of the lease extension with C&B Farms at Bailey Road. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is R61, and this is approval of the administrative and instructional personnel recommendations. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So the motion on the floor is approval of the administrative and instructional personnel recommendations. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is R62, and this is approval of the non-instructional personnel recommendations. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? The motion on the floor is approval of the non-instructional personnel recommendations. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is R63, and this is approval of the temporary duty assignments. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So the motion on the floor is approval of the temporary duty assignments. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have some charter school projected enrollment votes to take. We have 6 of these. So we'll start with Polk State College Gateway to College High School. And the recommendation here by the superintendent is to increase their enrollment by 23 students for a total PTM of 248. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Bridges, I will be abstaining from voting on this matter due to my relationship with Polk State College, and I have completed all the appropriate paperwork.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So the motion on the floor is approval of the Polk State College Gateway to College High by 23 students for a total of 248 PTMs. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is approval of the Victory Ridge Academy, an increase in their enrollment by 15 for a total PTM of 275. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So the motion on the floor is to increase the student enrollment at Victory Ridge Academy by 15 for a total of 275. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is approval of the Cypress Junction Montessori increase in student enrollment by 18 for a total of 200 200 students.
Move
What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? The motion on the floor is to approve an increase in the student enrollment at Cypress Junction Montessori by 18 students for a total of 200 students. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is approval to increase the enrollment for the 2019-2020 school year at Discovery High School by 150 students for a total PTM of 850. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Townsend?
I'm going to support this because it's the recommendation, and we discussed this at our work session a while back, but I am reluctant. Discovery often behaves sort of in the worst ways that a charter school does. They got rid of like 60 kids last year. I just want to note that for the record that we're allowing this increase because they have a high school, and this allows kids to roll up. But I would love to see them clean up their act.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Is there any further discussion? So the motion on the floor is approval to increase enrollment for the 2019-2000 school year at Discovery High by 150 students for a total of 850 PTM. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is approval to increase enrollment for the 2019-2020 school year at Bach Academy by 200 for a total PTM of 400 contingent on proof of building capacity. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We have discussion. Ms. Reynolds?
I just wanted to comment that at the work session when we discussed this, there was some concern over whether or not they had a building secured, and we do have a letter stating exactly where they will be and what the facility will look like. So thank you to Bach for providing that letter in advance.
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds. Any further discussion? So the motion on the floor is approval to increase enrollment for the 2019-2020 school year, Bach Academy by 200 for a total PTM of 400, contingent upon proof of the building and capacity, and apparently they've already done that for us. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The last item on our agenda is approval of the previous PTM of $1,650 for the 2019-2020 school year for Lake Wales Senior High School. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move approval?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? The motion on the floor is approval of the previous PTM of $1,650 for the 2019-2020 school year for Lake Wales Senior High. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And I think that's our agenda. So, Madam Superintendent, do you have a report?
Yes, I do. June meetings will be held at 12:30 in the Superintendent's Conference Room on Tuesday, June 18th, followed by the school board meeting at 5 p.m., held in the auditorium located at 1915 South Floor Avenue. I want to wish everyone, as this is our last meeting before the end of the school year, the last day of school is May 30th for our students, and it is an early dismissal day. But I wanted to make sure I thanked all of our teachers, students, parents, and community for entrusting your children with us this school year, but a special thank you to our teachers. We appreciate your hard work, your dedication that you did for us with our students, and I want to make sure that everyone knows as we end and close the school year that we want you to make sure you enjoy the summers off with your family, your friends, and make sure you come back rejuvenated because we'll be ready to go again. And I will miss you guys over the summer, but I want you to get rest, and I look forward to when you come back. That concludes my announcements.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Superintendent. Mr. Bridges?
Mr. Chair, request authority to advertise public hearing for June the 18th, 2019, one for policy revisions and one for the student progression plan.
And we need a vote on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'd entertain a motion to do as Mr. Bridges indicated.
So moved?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? So, Mr. Bridges, would you read that into the record one more time, please?
Yes, the motion is to approve authority to advertise a public hearing for June 18th, 2019, to cover the policy revisions that were discussed at the work session at first reading today, and the student progression plan also discussed at first reading today.
Thank you, Mr. Bridges. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll see to the advertisement.
Thank you, sir. So at this time, we'll go to our board members' reports. Oh, excuse me, Ms. Matthews. Do we have a report? Thank you, Ms. Matthews. Thank you for the great job you always do. We'll start with our board members' reports. We'll start with Mr. Townsend.
I got a couple of things to cover. First, wanted to recommend to anyone out there, if you get a chance, to go serve as a judge for the Tropicana speech contest at one of your schools. It's one of my favorite things to do. It's authentic education where kids get up and write something and present it to you, and their peers are really incredibly supportive of them, which I always find very moving. Our schools are something I'm going to talk about in a second. Our neighborhood schools are some of the most integrated places in America, and you have kids of all different types who are supportive of each other, telling each other's story, telling it in sophisticated ways. And I can tell you, I've done this now for 3 years in a row at one school, and the quality keeps getting better. Very, very, very proud of them. I've done it at Dixieland Elementary and at North Lakeland. And I always want to give a shout out to them. Secondly, I wanted to talk about this at the work session, but we went for like 5.5 straight hours. We had another. We had a bad incident on one of our buses for center schools, our schools for profoundly disabled kids. Last week that made some news. I know we have done some work to improve that. I'm going to be continuing to talk more about that. I think one of the things we need to do, and I would like to see us do it, is start to treat the buses that serve those kids as an extension of those schools. I think right now we treat them as buses that get special services. I think we need to treat them as extensions of those schools. And we made some progress after Teresa Gautney's death in getting the 800 megahertz system and getting our buses, all of them, more safe and tied into that. I think we need to take a close look at specifically the buses that serve profoundly disabled children, and I'll just be continuing to talk about that. I meant to talk about this at the work session. We just ran out of time, so I'm making the point here. And sort of lastly, I wanted to briefly, well, or not briefly, circle around a bit to what happened last month, or when we had the folks come to talk to us about bullying. I think that was a highly emotional hearing. I think good has already come out of it. I think we had one of the things that was very encouraging about the work session this morning is we have a pretty detailed, I like what I see, plan for addressing behavioral climate. It's a pretty detailed thing. I would urge you to take a look at the work session. It's important, and we're integrating how we address bullying into that plan. We have a really, I think, well thought out protocol for calling for help now for any kind of severe behavioral issue. I'm hoping that we'll sort of pump bullying into that plan. The plan is being developed still. It's a fluid plan. Anything that works with human beings is going to require some trial and error. But I think as painful as that was last week, the benefit that comes out of those kind of public confrontations sometimes can be pretty significant. And so I thank everybody who came and suffered through it, particularly from the school, but for the parents as well. I mean, everybody's experience is their experience, and I'm really focused on trying to make that the best that they can be. And I'm also very, very committed to making sure everybody gets their say. We're public officials, and we should listen to you. And sort of along those lines, there's a couple of pieces of information that I did not have when the meeting happened last week that I wanted to state for the record. One is that there apparently was, and I've confirmed this with one of the parents, an outside state investigation of the allegation of abuse, and it was found to be no negligence by the school. I think that's an important fact to be known. I also think it's important to be known that the school called in our bullying team that we have at the district. I was concerned that we had not, because I hadn't heard that said, but we did. Now I think we can use that team more effectively than we've been using them, and I think that's going to be part of the plan. And I think I wanted to commend the superintendent for her statement this morning. Again, I would urge you to go watch the work session. She made a nice public statement about it today, and I think the combination of supporting the school and staff with taking the issue of bullying seriously, or child cruelty, whatever you want to call it, I mean, is important and is a good outcome. I also want to say, for the record, I don't believe Medalla has a bullying problem that has not existed in any school that has ever been in existence, and including those. Including those that I attended as a kid. I think sometimes as adults we forget what being a kid is like, and that also doesn't mean there aren't problems with bullying or problems with cruelty, and it's incumbent upon all of us to work together to find thoughtful, caring solutions to it. And just sort of to finish this off, there were two parents who reached out to me who wanted their experience of Amidala stated. They were a little concerned about coming and speaking themselves, but I talked to both of them. I verified both of their letters. So if you'll indulge me for a second, I want to read their experiences. Okay. The first is she writes this. I wanted to take the time to share my family's experience with the staff at Amidala Elementary. I currently have two children enrolled at the school, both who have had a very positive and encouraging experience with staff. Last June, we had moved to Lakeland from out of state. My children had attended the same small school from the time they started pre-K at 3 years old. Needless to say, after 6 years, they had made friends and appreciated the familiarity and routine of their first and only elementary school. Moving to Florida was a big change for them, filled with anxieties and worries from all of us. In the last 10 months, my children have adjusted fantastically to a new, bigger school, new routines, new friends, and a new way of life. A huge part of this has to do with the wonderful teachers my children have been in contact with every day. My oldest, who I had my biggest concerns for, is in 4th grade and has Ms. Coleman as her teacher. Ms. Coleman has taken the time and effort to help my child grow and excel this past year. She was empathetic to my child's anxiety and nervousness of moving to a new place and entering a new school system. She has been phenomenal with communication, from sharing successes at school in real time as well as addressing concerns. This has been a fantastic year for my child, whose biggest worry was if other kids would like her and if she would make any friends. After 2 years of girls endlessly bullying her at her old school because of her size and shyness, she has had her first year of not having to deal with the emotional baggage that brings, and it has been a relief for both of us. My youngest, who is in 2nd grade, has Miss Sanyang and Miss C. Thomas as her teachers. We have had far fewer concerns due to her being such an outgoing and social child who is confident and easily adapts. Ms. Sanyang, who is her homeroom teacher and my primary contact, has had a very open line of communication. I feel she listened to us from when we first met her at orientation, and we're worried about what this new school would bring. My child has had a fantastic time, has been challenged, and truly enjoys going to school and seeing her friends and learning every day. We have had a positive experience across both grades, as well as the clubs and activities they're a part of. We feel the teachers and support staff work hard to provide an engaging learning environment. I appreciate you. So anyway, that's sincerely. I'm going to keep the parent's name out because she was a little concerned about identifying her child. This is the second. It's a little shorter. My son has been attending school at Amidala Elementary since kindergarten. He's now in the 5th grade. With only 2 weeks left of school, we're sad to say goodbye to Amidala. It has been an amazing school, and we are going to miss all the wonderful teachers, and especially Mrs. Richardson, who is the principal. We were happy when the previous principal retired and the school hired Miss R. She brought a new light and positive energy to the school that I feel was missing before. Prior to her, there were no yearbooks, no field day, no 5th grade dance, no dress-up days. I feel like the school was a little less fun. Kids need some fun to learn at this age. I've had one small incident at the school in the last 6 years. My son has been there, and it happened earlier this year. I went into the office to file a complaint at 8:30 a.m. The very next morning, Mrs. Bridgerton had called me and handled the situation immediately. I couldn't have been more pleased and satisfied with how she handled the problem. So when I read the article in the newspaper and heard all the negative things being said about Amidala, I felt like I needed to stand up and say something. We love you, Mrs. Bridgerton, and we stand by you 100%. Thank you for making Amidala a better school. I think everybody's experience is their experience. And those experiences are just as legitimate as the children who had bad experiences. And I try to talk about common purpose a lot, and trying to be as honest with each other as we can be, and as understanding as we can be. And again, I thank particularly the staff, Amidala. You sacrificed a lot of pain last month, but I think what's come out of that is something pretty good, and I'm encouraged that we may have a better system in place moving ahead, one that gives all of you, gives our principals, gives everybody the tools they need to be successful in these very, very difficult situations. So I appreciate you guys indulging me on this, and thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend. Ms. Fortney?
Well, I handled numerous communications. I will not read them all. Through email from people who supported the staff at Medela, from concerned parents, which I immediately forwarded to Superintendent Byrd, and she, with the speed of light, responded to those concerns for those parents. I want to publicly apologize to Medela for not asking better questions last board meeting. I will not make that mistake again. Ms. Coleman, who was mentioned in that letter, is a former student of mine, and I would never disrespect my profession like that again. Anyways, on a positive note, I have so many things that I've done. I just want to do some shout outs. I went to the food service picnic last month. That was just amazing over at Winter Haven. The Roosevelt Spring Fling, our Hearth Awards, which were amazing. I promise you, when Superintendent Byrd pulled out those laptops, I felt like it was you get a car and you get a car. And you get, those kids' faces were brilliant. It was just and the Volunteer of the Year, our PR department, big yay. Ridge and Travis, our open houses. We have so many good programs going on. Jim Miles, we had the Tibbetts competition. I've never seen kids love math so much. That was amazing. Medela, do y'all do Tibbetts? Oh my goodness, wow. Excellent. Beth Cummings, Nancy Puris. Oh my goodness, the visual arts, and I was at Munn Park. Again, it was Superintendent Byrd and I was taking pictures of them up there because I had the camera, called the phone. But it's alive and well. I mean, our arts are alive and well, and I just am so thankful that we're not a district that cuts that. Trish Pfeiffer, speaking of arts, she made a small presentation last board meeting. Bartow Middle School, Bartow High School, UA, the Mayor's Art Club. I see Mayor Longworth. Are you still the mayor? Okay. Not yet? Okay, you already got, okay. Yes, sir. Well, Commissioner Longworth is here, and his Mayor's Art Club. I went to the presentation of that at Bartow Memorial, who, by the way, paid for artwork. They're looking for community sponsors. If you have not been in Bartow Medical Center and seen our students' artwork that is on the walls, even the stories that people tell, people are sick, they're walking in the hallways, and it just brightens their day. That's all done because of community involvement from the city commission, the schools, and our business partners. And that's the kind of stuff we need. I saw Mr. Rios was here earlier. I put this on Facebook. Carnival, they did, oh my goodness. I thought I was at a Broadway show. Y'all need to look that up. Spencer Holland. The video awards, those are awesome. Lake Eva did a Northeast Chamber lunch, but they honored our Teacher of the Year and our school-related Employee of the Year, which I thought was really, really nice. Tico, I noticed Superintendent Byrd, you went on a different tour. You must have been on private, because I didn't see you out there. Okay. Okay, darn, I missed you. That was so exciting, so exciting. FFA banquet, the Polk Builders Association. Mr. Hill was our speaker, and that was entertaining. And then we did the Fresh Start graduation, which you took 200 kids that got a second chance at a high school diploma. That was humbling for me to be up on that stage, very humbling. Speaking of humbling, I humbly ask that somebody consider Bartow Middle School getting a new gym. They don't have a gym. I think they're going to be the only middle school without a gym once we're done. Hint, hint. Okay. And then I have something, Superintendent and I have met 3 times, I believe, about a concern that I've had about people, and I mentioned this earlier because it just, out of my mouth, and I see people I know and I love. I see Mr. Ruffin, who I call Framley, Mr. Mincy, and I just want to make something perfectly clear. I am a person that believes in consistency. In the classroom, I think we don't need subs every day. We need the same teachers year after year, the same administrators. That consistency is what we have been lacking. I worked in this county when it was dysfunctional as a teacher before Superintendent Byrd. It was not a pleasant place to be. I actually spent 6 years out of this county in Highlands County. So I am publicly supporting I may not agree with everything she does or says, and she, I'm sure, won't with me right now. But I respect her. I respect her opinion. I respect her position. I have never called for her to be displaced, replaced, relocated, and I will never call for that. As long as we're all putting students first, which is the only reason I ran for this God-forsaken job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Fortney. I think. Ms. Cunningham?
Yeah, what an act to follow, huh? Oh, my goodness. Okay, here we go. The first thing I'd like to do is announce that we're going to be having a Davenport Elementary School community meeting on Tuesday, May the 28th, from 5:30 to 7 p.m. at the Davenport Community Center. And Miss Angela Usher is putting that together for us in order to let the community know what's going to be going on at the school as far as construction, debris, noise, dust, et cetera, et cetera. So if you would like to join us, we would invite any of you here tonight to be a part of that and join us on Tuesday, May the 28th. Secondly, I just want to do a shout out to Davenport School of the Arts. Each year, the drama department collects $1 sold from every theater production, and they donate it to a charity. And this year, they decided to donate it to Ronald McDonald House Charities. And we had a presentation, and I want to do a thank you to Miss Rachel Pleasant because they had like about a 24-hour turnaround from Saturday night to the Monday morning to create one of those big presentation checks for us. And the amount that was donated this year was $2,700. Woo! I'm so proud of the school and the kids and everybody who works so hard to raise those dollars and to learn how to give back, which is the most important part of how we educate our students. Want to give a shout out to the Haines City High School Theater Department. They did a fabulous show called The Addams Family. Mr. Jerry Henry did a great job and all the students, and it was just fabulous. So thanks for everybody who worked on that. I attended the youth leadership graduation celebration that the chamber put on. They not only did the Teacher of the Year and School-Related Employee of the Year recognition, we also every year graduate a group of students from the youth leadership program. And it's a 5-day long program throughout the year where they get to go to different businesses and industry in Polk County and learn about all different types of jobs and fields. And then it culminates with a trip to Tallahassee to see how government works. So congratulations to each of those children who completed that program, and once again to the chamber for putting it on. I too attended the Polk County Builders Association Blueprint and Model Competition Awards. And I just want to say thank you to Miss Alice Hunt and her vision and foresight, because the Polk County Builders Association have awarded, since 1995, $193,000 in projects, blueprint competitions, and scholarships to both high school and college students right here in Polk County. That is a lot of money through the years, so thank you. I too want to say a shout out to our volunteers of the year. According to the statistics of that morning, our volunteers in Polk County Schools to date, which was last week, donated over 200,000 hours in our classrooms helping students. That is amazing. Amazing. And I know there's many of you out there as well that are a part of that. And on behalf of our school board, and most importantly, our students, thank you to our volunteers, because quite frankly, we couldn't do it without you. Additionally, I want to just give a shout out to Dr. Michael Akes, who is our Chief Academic Officer for the Polk County School District, and he was recently inducted into Florida Southern College's Circle of Leaders, and we attended that, and it was such a wonderful, wonderful afternoon to be able to say thank you to him and induct him in this most prestigious circle. And I might want to say that our inaugural member into this elite group of individuals was none other than our superintendent, Mrs. Jackie Bird, last year. So we are very proud of both of you, and it was a lovely ceremony, and congratulations to you. Now, board members, this is an invitation for you. As most of you may know, Pam Henderson, who used to be the principal at Dundee Elementary Academy, passed away this past year. And we are doing a dedication to Miss Pamela Henderson in the garden there, which is something that I believe she was very fond of, and it was a very important part of who she was at that school. And so I'm going to be passing to each one of you a copy of this. Our Celebrate Our Legacy to DEA is going to be on May 30th, the last day of school at 10 o'clock in the morning at Dundee Elementary Academy. And we would love for any of you who can attend in order to memorialize Miss Henderson. We got a sneak peek when we walked around and got to see the garden. It's quite beautiful, and she loved butterflies, and so it is appropriately themed. Did I do that right? Y'all get one? Everybody? Everybody got one? Okay, so I'm excited to invite you all to be a part of that as well. Trying to think. And I'm also want to give a shout out to Dundee Elementary Academy for being the second elementary school in Polk County to receive the IB in the early years program. So very proud of our school, and I'm very excited that one of my goals when I ran 100 years ago was to be able to have on the east side of the county a progression from elementary, middle, and high school for our IB program, and we now have that in place, and it's doing well in all three, from Dundee Elementary to Dundee Ridge Academy Middle, and then to Haines City High School IB program. So, and with that, I just want to tell everybody, like I always do at the end of school, children, read, read, read. We have the best library cooperative in Polk County. Try to check out books. If your library doesn't have it, another one will, and they will send them to your library for you to check out. So with that, that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Cunningham. Ms. Reynolds?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not going to repeat all of the wonderful events that Ms. Fortney and Ms. Cunningham have already mentioned. It's the most exciting time of the year, I think, because we get to celebrate every day the things that are happening every day all year long in our classroom. But we actually get to see all of these students in one place. A couple of the things that I do want to highlight is our Hearth Luncheon, which a couple of my colleagues have already mentioned, our speaker from this year came back from last year, and when he came back this year, he had on his own raised between $600 and $700 in gift cards to give out to the students. So it just, I think, speaks volumes that not only did he not charge us to come back and speak because he believes in what we're doing, but he went out on his own and had friends and family members donate $50 and $100 gift cards to give to these students too. So I just think it's incredible, and I wish I could remember his name because I can picture his face and it has totally flown out the window. But I just want to give a big shout out to him. It's in Lori's program, so she's going to look it up real quick. But then also, I want to, Adam's family at Auburndale High School was a huge success. They ran for 3 nights last weekend, and they made over $5,000, which is incredible. They had over 100 people at every show, which it's a rebuilding year. There's a brand new teacher there, so they were thrilled. And the show was, I work at a theater, so I like to think that I know a little bit about what's going on stage. Would never go on stage, but I know what's going on stage. So it looked beautiful. The set was beautiful. You could hear everybody, which with high schoolers is really incredible when they're on stage. But so kudos to Miss Moore Johnson and her team. And the speaker was, this is the volunteer of the year. It's a different program, but that's okay. He was a great speaker, I promise. And then finally, I had the opportunity to speak with the Winter Haven Kiwanis Club at lunch last week. And I will say, and I told them this, I totally stole Miss Bird's PowerPoint that she uses for every presentation. So I can't take any credit for that. But they're now very upset about how we calculate graduation rates because that's how the state makes us do it. So I told them I would tell our legislators and that they can too. But it was really cool to see them get that aha moment of, oh, that's why we only have like an 80% graduation rate. It's because all of these kids don't count. So it was very exciting just to see them kind of understand what we do and what we're up against. So thank you, Ms. Bird, for sharing your crafty work with me. And thank you to the Kiwanis Club for inviting me to speak and let me talk about what we do every day. And with that, I will conclude my comments.
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds. Ms. Fields?
I just have a couple of things. I want to be mindful of the time. I want to, excuse me, I want to commend the graduates of the Fresh Start program. They graduated from high school on last Thursday, and these are students who have really struggled, and they've sometimes given up hope, and they don't believe that they can achieve what we ultimately want for each of our students, which is to graduate from high school. And I believe there were almost 200, if not more, students that graduated from Fresh Start, and we want to congratulate them and thank the staff for their hard work. And then at our last board meeting, I was not able to be present due to my obligations at Girls Inc., and I wanted to personally go to Medela Elementary School and see firsthand what was going on there. And I was just amazed and in awe when Ms. Richardson sat down with me, and she took time to share with me all of the documents and got a chance to meet some of the staff, and they're just amazing, and she has a great team, and I'm just so thankful that we have such a jewel in our community, and that would be Medela Elementary School. And so I want to thank them for their hard work and for their dedication, and for just going the extra mile each and every day for our students. And then lastly, I want to thank all of the employees who support United Way of Central Florida. As was stated earlier, over 100 agencies benefit from the hard work that the employees do by donating to United Way. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And that ends my report.
Thank you, Ms. Fields. Ms. Miller?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to mention a couple of things that this is the time of year where all of these events are happening, and most of us are making them to represent the school board. I did get to meet some students from Auburndale High School that were outstanding and part of the Auburndale Chamber's leadership program they have, which I thought was really interesting, very similar to our Polk leadership or the city's leadership programs that is done with adults. Auburndale High School selects students to go through the program, and it shows them how the city works and how the different job opportunities that are available. So it was fun to meet those students. And Polk Museum of Art is a great showcase. They are Smithsonian related, which is very rare. So if you have not been to the Polk Museum of Art, I suggest you go and see our students' works on display, because it is really amazing. The video awards are always my favorite. I can tell you they do professional productions, creating either documentaries or small films with different topics. So if you've never been to that, I encourage you to try that next year. Also, I got to visit the Ag program and the County Ag Awards, which I thought was very interesting. That's not something that I had a lot of experience in, but I enjoyed meeting those students and seeing what they've done. I want to remind, they're still learning over the summer. Our summer program is from June 5th to the 27th, so students will still be learning over the summer in organized programs, and also with the city and different programs throughout the summer. We want to encourage that for all students and give them those opportunities. And I wanted to commend Mr. Hill. The superintendent gave him in charge of this behavior. We keep talking about behavior and the needs in our community and our schools. And he set together a committee that did a presentation today. And if you don't watch our work sessions, they're available on YouTube. I suggest that if you have time that you do go to those, they'll docu-stamp them so you can skip through to the subject areas that are interesting to you. But the presentation today about the committee that's come together to work on our behavior supports in our schools, it's, an investment of millions of dollars, but we are really looking at a systemic way of changing how we operate. Because yes, everyone has their own experiences, and I think we are moving from a compliance-based system to really a compassionate, whole child, whole experience kind of movement, and I'm very proud of that. And it's something that committee will work on continuously throughout the year and the years ahead. Again, I thank the board members for all of your all your commitment to the community. We are at everything, and I think it's important that board members do become a part of their communities and learn what's happening. All the graduations coming up are going to be super exciting, and I can't wait to take part in those. So that is the end of my report. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. We have a stack of cards for speakers, more so than many times over, more than I've seen since I've been on the board. The board has been going strong since 12:30 this afternoon, and I'm pretty sure that one of my colleagues is going to file a grievance with the Labor Relations Board if we don't take a short break. So we're going to take just a very short 10-minute recess. We'll reconvene, and we'll open with the public comments.